A poem by D.J. Anderson. Why do we love storms? Listening to the water stumble off the roof from the comfort of our haven, hearing the sky crackle and ignite as the wind speeds through the town. Why? Because we can be close to the chaos as possible without actually being touched by it. It's always within our reach in case we later choose madness, guarded inside by a house of lies, walls of deception, a sturdy roof of self-propaganda. Chaos booms and yells and reveals the truth. We crave it all around us, even in our haven. We crave storms to send things crumbling down, to cause a scene, to be as honest as possible, to make us feel real. Now, D.J. Anderson isn't a well-known poet, but she's got an elegant way of using metaphor to get us to look in the mirror. Back in the day, when we wanted to indulge in a little chaos, a little scandal, we picked up one of those tabloids at the supermarket, and they rarely had good things to say, airing the shame of movie stars, the danger of aliens among us, except for Elvis. Elvis, after he was cited time after time around this great country of ours after his death, they only had kind words for Elvis for some reason, but I digress. Nowadays, our phones give us access to a storm of things to be upset about if we want to find them and do so. And if we really want to get swept away, we click on the comments. Safety and security is number 2 on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's also linked to our foundational chakra. And yet, as our poet D.J. Anderson so elegantly points out, we somehow like to be danger adjacent. Safe within our own home, but as she points out, the walls are made of deception, a sturdy roof of self-propaganda. Why? Because despite what we tell ourselves, these things are not about me, I don't even know the poster, it's just an indulgence, I'm just reading them. But metaphysically, we cannot escape that as co-creators, our vibe creates our tribe. The Course in Miracles says that our thoughts, not just our words, but our thoughts are always put into action. Now, a couple weeks ago, a good friend of mine, dismayed not just by the news cycle, but social media and personal conversation, said to me, I feel like I'm living inside a tornado right now. And I hadn't thought of it like that, but her confession perfectly summarized how I'd been feeling. I realized in the moment that while I wanted to stay informed, I'd lingered a little too long on the periphery of the news, social media, and even the community response to a particular event. Now, back in 9/11, when I was driving by the Pentagon, I was driving by the Pentagon when Flight 77 hit, and I found myself understandably caught up in the event and the torrent of news coverage. By the time I'd made it home that day, trying to find some conjecture I could make sense of, I turned on the TV and was immediately swept away by, again, all the conjecture, all the theories and discoveries being put out. So much of it, though, turned out to be untrue. And there, that day, back in the safety of my own home, despite my intentions to feel better, to be assured, I was the worse for it. I thought I was observing the storm of sentiment raging around the day from the news, but in all actuality, I was just another piece of debris whirling about in the zeitgeist. When the dust eventually settled some over the days and weeks afterwards, and I had somewhat recollected myself, I vowed never again to surrender myself so easily to external events, even if popular consensus appeared in alignment. And this rule has served me well. Now, 5 years later, as I was handing off a job, I offered my replacement this advice. For a year, it's going to feel like you're working inside a cyclone. There's so much to manage, all of it important, one little thing after another. None of this is hard. It's just that there's so much of it, and it falls on you. You're one man being paid to stand in the middle of this cyclone. So I want you to identify the one objective in it all that matters and focus only on it. When that's accomplished, you can then turn to the next. That will keep you both successful and sane while you acclimate to this job. And secondly, make sure all of the things whirling around you, make sure they truly belong to you. Do not let anyone toss something in, tangible or intangible. Now, I won't lie, I told him the volume of work will not lessen over time, but I promise you, after a year, it will no longer feel like a cyclone. It will just be a whole lot of little things that you know you can handle. Now, back then, 20 years ago, I did not notice the metaphysical wisdom in that advice. But returning to the words from Mark that I greeted you with this morning, at face value, it seems like the master teacher is this elemental shaman. If we have faith, we too can control the weather. But the verse is more than that. Jesus is in a state of bliss, asleep at the stern of the boat, the part that pitches all the more with the waves. So upon having his tranquility so rudely interrupted by the panicking disciples, of course he's irritated. But not because they couldn't control the weather. I mean, come on, it's only chapter 4 in the book of Mark. He doesn't ask them to walk on water for 2 more chapters. He's irritated because he knows their internal state is rampant. The storm serves, more importantly, if you ask me, as a metaphor for internal and external strife. In calming the storm, Jesus essentially declaring, as we say nowadays, not my circus, not my monkeys. In recognizing that the storm has no power over him, it ceases to exist. And this example is bookended in the Old Testament account of Jonah. While trying to evade his divine purpose, Jonah, if you recall, takes a boat in the opposite direction. God summons a squall which threatens to shatter the vessel, and while everyone is running riot, the crew finds a reluctant prophet asleep in the bowels of the ship. But when confronted and dragged on deck, what is Jonah's response? Essentially, this is my circus, my monkeys. Throw me overboard. Now, both teachings have value. The master teacher instructs us that when confronted with a storm, we must dispatch any part of it that does not belong to us, that which does not serve us. Jonah, in the belly of the whale, demonstrates that we must own that which we're truly responsible for and focus on that. And as I've grown in divine metaphysics, I find myself following the advice I gave myself back in 9/11. I find myself now less reactive. I no longer run passionately and headfirst into the fray. And it's not because I don't care. It's not because I've become jaded. The human experience continues to knock me back on my heels, and I hope will continue to knock me back on heels for as long as I am a part of it. Divine metaphysics and all its practices have made me more peaceful inside. And in this state, I can more mindfully address life's storms as I come across them, or when they suddenly materialize around me. Just as I don't want to be unwittingly swept up and become yet another piece of debris whirling around the cyclone, I don't want to be seen by someone else as just another piece of debris. Why? Because in either case, I have lost my potential to be of benefit. We risk our personal ohm, if you will, not being shareable, or we risk being vibrationally out of balance with the universal ohm entirely. I had an interesting discussion about Om recently, and I was at a retreat and listened intently to a discussion between a Sikh and a Hindu about the ramifications of Sanskrit no longer being a mandated part of school curriculum back in India. And like I said, I listened intently. But when the discussion turned to the meaning of Om, I eventually felt it was okay to ask a few questions and propose a few things, again in the form of a question. This Florida boy was very well aware he was the guest in that conversation. But we did settle on this. Om, which is not a word, but a syllable, one that's held as a powerful seed mantra in its own right. And while we spell it A-U-M, that's an English approximation of how one physiologically manifests the sound. And it's for this reason why I lean towards the 3-letter spelling rather than the 2 letters OM. In chanting this powerful seed mantra, we summon 3 powers. It's an amazing thing about the Hindu and when they chant. They believe, you might have heard me say this last month, they believe that the mantra is the deity, is the force, is the power. If you are recreating it accurately and with pure intention. So in chanting this powerful seed mantra, we summon 3 powers. Ah, openness and possibility. O, attraction and coalescence. And manifestation. Aum. Give it a try, all right? Say Om with these 3 divine powers in mind. Close your eyes. Here we go. Aum. Close your eyes and try it one more time, and this time on the I want you to bring your teeth gently together and observe where it vibrates within you. Here we go. Aum. Now one more time, you might want to change the pitch if you want to feel that vibration higher or low in your body. Let's try it. Aum. Savor the prana deep within you and gently release it, and exhale, open your eyes.